Have you ever wondered how the vibrant underwater cities of corals come into existence? It's an intricate process, a labor of love that unfolds over millennia, all starting with a tiny free-swimming marvel known as a polyp. These polyps are the building blocks of the coral universe. Picture them as miniature soft-bodied organisms, no larger than a pinhead, yet they are the architects of the grandeur that is a coral reef. Their life begins as a free-floating entity in the vast expanse of the ocean, a solitary existence drifting with the currents. But their destiny is not to remain solitary. Each polyp is equipped with a sticky base that seeks a solid surface. It could be a rock, the sea floor, or even the skeleton of a dead coral. Once they find this surface, they attach themselves firmly and start their mission of construction. The polyp then begins to secrete a hard limestone skeleton around itself, forming the base of what will soon be a bustling coral metropolis. As they grow, they divide, creating clones of themselves, each one contributing to the burgeoning colony. Over time, these colonies of polyps grow, layer upon layer, to form intricate structures that are as diverse as they are beautiful. But what's truly miraculous is the time scale. These coral architects don't work over days, months, or even years. Instead, they labor over centuries, even thousands of years, to create the sprawling reef structures we marvel at today. It's a testament to the resilience and determination of these tiny creatures. So the next time you dive into the ocean or see images of a vibrant coral reef, remember the humble polyp. These tiny architects, working tirelessly, are the force behind the creation of these underwater cities. So, the colorful underwater metropolis that you see is actually a grand structure built by tiny architects over thousands of years. And that, my friends, is the miraculous formation of corals. Now that we understand how these magnificent structures come into being, let's dive deeper into the life cycle of corals. In the vibrant world beneath the waves, corals are busy living lives of quiet complexity. Their life cycle is a marvel of nature, a dance of survival that takes place in 3 distinct stages. The first stage is asexual reproduction, where a parent coral produces clones of itself. These clones, known as polyps, bud off from the parent and settle nearby. Each polyp grows into a coral, creating a colony of genetically identical individuals. This process, known as budding, allows corals to cover vast areas and create the foundations of the reef. But corals are not just builders, they're also lovers. And so we come to the second stage of their life cycle, sexual reproduction. Unlike budding, sexual reproduction introduces genetic diversity into the population. Corals reproduce sexually by releasing eggs and sperm into the water, a spectacular event known as spawning. Picture this. Once a year, in response to the lunar cycle and water temperature, corals simultaneously release clouds of eggs and sperm. It's an underwater snowstorm, a spectacle of nature that ensures a high chance of fertilization. The fertilized eggs float to the water's surface and develop into larvae, which will eventually settle on the ocean floor and grow into new corals. This is the third stage of their life cycle. It's a perilous journey for these tiny settlers, but those that survive will form the next generation of the coral reef, contributing to the diversity and resilience of these underwater cities. Corals' ability to reproduce both asexually and sexually is key to their survival. It allows them to recover from disturbances like storms and to adapt to changes in their environment. And so, the cycle of life continues in these underwater cities, contributing to the biodiversity of our oceans. But corals aren't just beautiful structures, they play a vital role in our ecosystem. Imagine a bustling city under the sea, teeming with life. This is the coral reef, home to an astounding 25% of all marine species. Corals provide shelter, breeding grounds, and hunting territories for a vast array of creatures, from the tiniest plankton to the most majestic sea turtles. But their role extends beyond housing marine life. Corals serve as nature's coastal buffers, absorbing wave energy and protecting our shorelines from storms and erosion. They're also critical in the carbon cycle, sequestering carbon dioxide and helping to regulate our planet's climate. Moreover, through a process called nitrogen fixation, corals contribute to the nutrient dynamics in the ocean, enriching the waters and supporting life. They truly are the unsung heroes of our seas. In essence, corals are the life-sustaining pillars of our marine ecosystem. Beyond their ecological significance, corals also have a profound economic impact. These vibrant underwater ecosystems are cornerstones of many global economies. Let's take a closer look. Firstly, fisheries rely heavily on coral reefs. They serve as nurseries for about a quarter of the ocean's fish, and these fish form the livelihoods for millions worldwide. Furthermore, the unique biodiversity of coral reefs supports a flourishing seafood industry. Secondly, we can't overlook the tourism sector. From snorkeling and scuba diving to beautiful beachfront views, coral reefs attract millions of tourists every year, generating billions in revenue. Lastly, corals are a treasure trove of potential medicines. Scientists are continually discovering new compounds in coral reefs for treatments of diseases such as cancer, HIV, and more. So corals are not just underwater rainforests teeming with life. They're also economic gold mines supporting industries and providing potential medical breakthroughs. Indeed, corals are not just ecological powerhouses, but also economic engines. Despite their importance, corals face serious threats, the most significant of which is coral bleaching. This phenomenon, as stark as it sounds, is a stress response from corals when they expel their life-giving algae, known as zooxanthellae. This leaves them ghostly white and vulnerable, thus the term bleaching. Coral bleaching is primarily triggered by elevated ocean temperatures. When water temperatures rise even slightly for a prolonged period, it can cause corals to stress and evict their colorful tenants, the zooxanthellae. Without these critical algae, corals not only lose their vibrant hues, but also their main source of food, pushing them towards starvation. But temperature isn't the only culprit. Other factors like pollution, overexposure to sunlight, and extreme low tides can also trigger bleaching events. And once bleached, corals are not necessarily dead, but they are in a weakened state, more susceptible to disease and less likely to survive other threats. And there are many other threats. Overfishing disrupts the balance of the reef ecosystem, removing species that help keep coral healthy. Pollution, especially from agricultural runoff and untreated sewage, can cloud the water and smother corals. Even certain types of sunscreen worn by well-meaning snorkelers can be toxic to these delicate organisms. Then there's the long shadow of climate change. As our world warms, so do our oceans. This leads to more frequent and severe coral bleaching events. Coupled with ocean acidification, another consequence of increased carbon dioxide, corals face a grim future. The devastation of these threats is not just a loss for the corals, it's a loss for the countless species that call the reefs home, for the coastal communities that rely on them for food and protection, and for the world that benefits from their biodiversity and beauty. The vibrant cities beneath the waves are losing their color and life, and it's happening at an alarming rate. The time to act is now, not just for the corals, but for the intricate web of life they support. The future of corals may seem bleak, but it's not too late to turn things around. We all have a role to play in the preservation of these underwater cities. One of the most effective ways to protect corals is to reduce our carbon footprint. This can be as simple as reducing energy use at home, choosing public transportation, or embracing a plant-based diet. We can also support conservation efforts. Many organizations are working tirelessly to protect and restore coral reefs, and they could use our help. Donating, volunteering, or even just spreading the word about their mission can make a big difference. And let's not forget the power of awareness. By educating others about the importance of corals and the threats they face, we can inspire more people to take action. Remember, every small action counts. Together, we can ensure that the underwater cities of corals continue to thrive for generations to come.
Thank you for joining us in this journey. Remember, every action counts. Together, let's get going and make that change. Stay tuned for more impactful content.